the Coaching Roundtable podcast. I'm coming to you, crossing I'm in Bonnie-Doon at the moment, crossing Eildon. I know my geography, and with me today I have Ashley Drew and
hey everybody.
Hello. So excited.
It is exciting, isn't it?
Actually, yeah, it's been a long time.
It has been.
It's crazy to think it's halfway through the year.
No.
Well, it was been since I've been back from Barclay, so it's not that long.
Yeah. That's right. Well, you're traveling, Isabel, and so we don't know how much time we've got with you, eh? We might drop out, so we might jump in. She's still even there now.
She's still here.
Yeah.
At least I can still see the video.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep. So we were talking about off camera about the use of Garmin watches to for recommendations for where we're at training wise. Ashley, did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, basically, being longer distance runners and ultra runners, when I look at the data of Garmin, and it says that my running is unproductive at that point in time, it's comparing me against all the other Garmin users. The fact is, if I look at my data, I run 99% of my running is further than everybody else's. So only 1% of Garmin users' data is similar to mine, or less than 1%. So when it says my training's unproductive, I don't really believe it. And what I was saying is, for some users, or maybe for a lot of users, it'd be interesting to know from Garmin, what is the average distance that people run per week on their platform?
How many kilometres a week are you doing?
Me at the moment, I'm doing zip, because for the last 4 weeks, I've been testing new cancer meds.
How can it say that you're doing more than 99% of Garmin users then?
I would not say that that's what it's currently saying. When I was doing 80 and 100K an hour, 100K weeks, then that's the data I'm referring to. At the moment, no, I'm barely doing anything.
I thought it was still saying that to you, but yes, it says that to me, but I do have to wonder what is their data pool for that?
If it's pulling in everyone's data, then it's just an average of worldwide users. It's kind of like Rotten Tomatoes and movie ratings. Well, that's taking everybody's and then averaging it, and that's just the average of everybody. And that's not saying that everybody loves to watch a particular type of movie. So it's the same sort of thing. Big data is fantastic for the average, but running long distance is outside the average user.
But can I just jump in, Ash? I just have, because I have a few questions, because I was under the impression that it calculated your fitness, or like whether you're productive, unproductive, maintaining, detraining, and very occasionally recovery or even peaking.
Yep.
They're the different statuses, not in any particular order. But I'm pretty sure there is a certain degree of truth in it. I don't think it's worth being completely thrown out, but it's so inaccurate. It's too generalized. Is that what you're getting at?
I'm getting at it's too generalized for you to take that as the only metric that you use to go, oh, I'm improving, or I'm not improving, or that run was a waste of time.
It's measuring heart rate off your watch and factoring it in against your pace, essentially. That's my understanding. Is that right?
That's my understanding too, yes, but I could be wrong, of course.
Inherently, that's erroneous because it's going to be erroneous because the wrist-based heart rate monitors are notoriously, unreliable anyway. Unless you've got it, it's semi-reliable if you've got it super duper tight, that most people don't have it tight enough. But even then, the wrist-based heart rate monitor is not reliable. You should not be using it to base your heart rates off.
No, it has a very low accuracy rate. And even your chest straps have, a standard deviation of 2 or 2.5%, which is quite a lot.
Yes.
When we're trying to run to, let's say we're picking 165 as the heart rate we're running to. Well, that means, if it's out by 2%, it's ranging from 161 to 169, as your standard deviation. So if you then take something that is 7 or 8% inaccurate, then that stat goes right out.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Do you guys find it? I find it frustrating that they haven't figured out a way to take in like elevation and how the impact that's going to have. If you do an entire week where all you do is go hills, 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 or if you've been doing road and then you're suddenly doing lots of hills, your watch is going to think you're unproductive and detraining. Yes. And it's like you're getting all this negative. Yeah. And it's like
the newer, more expensive watches are starting to take elevation gain into account in their algorithms, but you have to spend a lot of money on a watch to do that.
Yes. It's interesting.
So which watches do that?
I believe the 900 series from 935, or it might be 945 and above, take that into account. They start to average that out. Now, I could be wrong. I could be confusing.
Well,
with
I've got a 945.
Oh.
I've got a 945, and it doesn't take it into account.
Okay, so I might be confusing it with a different brand, because I do know that one of the brands had started to take that into account.
It's
amazing. But ultimately, what it also says to me is that we should maybe go a little bit old school and not rely so much on our watches and go, oh, I'm feeling crap, I need to rest. I'm feeling good, I can keep going. Whereas instead of going, oh, my watch says I'm productive, even though I'm hacking up half a lung and feeling like a dog's breakfast, I'm going to keep going because my watch says it's productive.
Yeah, I agree with you completely there. The only thing that I would say from personal experience and experience with other athletes is when you're feeling really good and you think, oh, I might just go out for a bit more. That's a mistake. Sometimes you have to set to your stick limit.
But maybe we should also just learn to listen to our bodies. Like that's how they trained for decades upon decades. These watches are only fairly recent, but they managed to, do some fairly solid racing before then and training.
Oh, totally. But that's one of the things that I love about ultra running history is you read through history and you go, man, the races that people were doing in the 1800s make the races we do today look like nothing. And they didn't pull out because the weather was bad, like it was, or cancel the race because, there's a little bit of water on the trail.
Oh,
it's just, amazing what was being done. If you start reading ultra running history, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do worry, going back to the watch, there is an over-reliance on it generally, but even the psychological damage I feel it does to runners worries me, because you have especially people who are not getting coached, because quite often I'll say to my runners as a joke, ignore it when it says something negative and enjoy it when it says something positive, or better still, just ignore that that element of the data altogether. But, they would have obviously invested a fair bit of time to create this algorithm that tells you whether you're productive. Yeah. It's overdoing it. And I always say the watch is there to teach you about yourself, about your and if it's giving you this information that's not entirely accurate, you're going to get a bad idea. It's almost like the same as like people that get body dysmorphia because they, it's like fitness dysmorphia. Did I just make that up? I don't know.
I'm not sure either, but that's probably a pretty good term for it. It's, I think it's with a lot of data that we get these days, or, mobile devices. The fact is we've become a bit augmented, as in, we are connected to our mobile phone, etc. And those platforms are designed to make you addictive. And I wonder whether it's just, it's constantly giving you that feedback because it makes you want to buy Garmin because it has this feature. So it's a selling technique more than accuracy. As I said in a text message, I think to you guys the other day, the secret to running is run 95% of your runs really slow, 5% hard, 1% really hard. That's it, you're done. Or 4% hard and 1% really hard. And that's, and then consistently do that. That will get you somewhere.
So you wouldn't say more 80-20? You're going 90-10, are you?
I think the 80-20 rule is a great rule that was designed by somebody and we use it a lot. And but I would suggest that it's in ultra running, you can't do 20% of your runs hard still, because that's a lot of hard running per week. If you're running over 100 kilometers a week to be an ultra runner, 20K is hard every week. That's a lot.
It's an interesting, an interesting segue there, Ashley, into from watches. It all feeds in from the watch into the 80-20 model or the 90-10 or whatever you want to do. But it's Matt Fitzgerald. I know Isabel has spoken to Matt a number of times. He's sort of really popularized that 80-20. Hey, so what do you think?
Well, the 80-20 actually comes more from research they've done and what they find amongst all top athletes from around the world. They tended to just naturally follow the 80-20 rule. It wasn't so much a rule that was created, it was just what was found through research.
And and it's interesting because I remember seeing some of that research where most amateur runners are following more of a 60-40 model. And they're not running there, doing too much fast stuff. But even Ashley's right. 80-20 is good. 90-10 is probably even better. And or 95-5. But I look at that 20% because my big question for a long time is there needs to be more discussion of what that 20% should look like if we're doing 80-20, And I like to think of that 20% almost as a rainbow, as a variety of paces that you're going to do within that. It's not just, And right at the very pointy end, you probably got 1% or even less than 1% of just, max efforts and stuff. But it's fascinating, how the people are starting to 80-20 got really popular, and then now it's sort of there's more of a consensus on running faster a bit more. But I don't know. I think if you want to run fast, sometimes you do have to run fast in training. But that's sort of the model. It's only a sometimes thing or a rare thing in a week. Everything else should feel easy, but we know this. Yeah. But that's fascinating. Yeah. Did you guys, we can move on from the watches and the 80-20, because I was going to ask you both about, we haven't actually done a little go around of catching up. Isabel, you're on the road. You've passed Bonnie Doon now. Hope she's still there. She can still hear me.
She's smiling, so I think she's connected.
Well, we'll talk.
It's just a noisy road. So I'm on the way to Bright for Wandy Cross tomorrow. It's 42 k's with 3,200. So it's going to be a fair day out there. The weather's pretty average, and my femoral nerve's been playing up since DU, which means my quad isn't working as well. So it just is what it is. But just going out there for a cruisy run. How's your recovery gone, Daniel, from your big race?
Good now. I like I was saying off air to Ashley before, I feel like last week I probably was I feel really good now. But there was the first week I was just very tired and a bit achy. Second week out, it's that weird feeling where I was I feel better. I feel like I'm recovered. My legs aren't sore, but I just still was really flat. And then, but now, no, my energy's back. I'm starting to feel really strong again. And I'm going to go and do a half marathon in a couple of weeks. I'm just going to do the, just for something different, change it up a bit. The Pitchy Richie half marathon, I couldn't be bothered doing the full marathon, if I'm being honest. I just felt like doing a half because I enjoy it. And so speaking of running fast, but it's a weird one. The first 14 kilometers is sort of climbing, it's road, it's up through the Flinders. And then the last 7 kilometers is this like beautiful gradient of about 5% all the way down to the finish line.
So overpacing.
So you can absolutely go for it, So that's the plan, is to maybe, and it's going to be good because Steve Monaghetti is going to be there. It's a small race, and so
cool.
Australian great. He's the 40th year of the Pitchy Richie Marathon. It's probably one of the harder road marathons in Australia, I would say. It's quite a bit of climbing from Port Augusta. Yeah, I think the winning time is usually. Oh, how much? I don't know, a few hundred meters. It's not obviously not like a trail run in terms of climbing, but it's enough. But it's basically the first 35 kilometers is a steady up, down. It's a net gain of a few hundred meters, but you're just going really slowly up, up, up. It's a grind. I did it a few years ago. I did the marathon in 3:52. I remember a few years back, and that was only a few months after I'd done a 3:30 road, flat road. So that's pretty accurate for most people. They're usually about 20 minutes slower. So yeah, but yeah, and so that's good. And Ashley, how's the return to running going?
Well, it stopped for a while. So I've been playing with pain med protocols for the cancer, and that has meant that I haven't been running while doing that, so that I don't do any damage. And we've come up with what is a solution at this point in time. So I did my first 3-kilometer run again yesterday, and I'll slowly start building up again, sticking to the protocol I'm on now. So yeah, it's just been a pause while we test that stuff out.
Oh, okay.
And still running barefoot?
Yeah. Still running barefoot. Even went mountain climbing the other day. Did Flinders. I did that barefoot. So, and that was quite an experience because I couldn't feel anything but my feet. It hurt the whole way up and the whole way down, and it hurt way more on the way down. It's amazing when you put your foot, when you're going downhill and you put your foot wrong and you stand on a sharp rock, you certainly know about it real quick. But yeah, it was good fun. It was definitely a challenge.
And how's the actual knee feel? Do you feel okay?
The knee feels pretty good. It's definitely getting stronger and it's getting more stable. I certainly can't do a pistol or a single leg squat at the moment, but it's definitely getting better than it was. So yeah, it's coming along.
Yeah, it's amazing recovery. You're the bloody you're the comeback kid, I have to say.
Yeah, look, the number of times that I've learnt to run again or walk again in the last 5 years or 6 years is quite phenomenal. But then doctors predicted that I wouldn't be alive now too. So, we do what we can.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, man. You're a bloody champion. Do you like that song? Remember that song that I get knocked down, but I get up again? That's you.
Pretty much.
That's it.
Yeah. And that's a good motto for ultra running,
Well, the fact is so many ultra runners get injured in some way. And I know that I've had a couple of my athletes this year get injured, and they weren't injured running. That's the worst part. They were injured just going about their daily life and tripping over at work or, stuff like that. And it's just, we all human beings, the human body is an amazing thing, but at some point you're going to get injured. You've got to give your body time to recover. You've got to do the right things. And then it's just that it's the worst thing is dealing with your own ego and going, I used to be able to run 100 Ks a week, but I know that I can only run 10 Ks this week. And that's actually a long way after having so long off. And resetting your brain and thinking that is a long way, rather than going, oh, I used to be able to run 150 Ks a week, no problem at all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, is easing back into it, isn't it? Rather than going, well, I used to do 120 Ks a week, so that's what I'm going to go back to. It's like, no, you're going to have to start at 30 Ks a week. Or something else.
Yeah.
Garmin needs an injury feature on it, like
well, they have a pause feature, but they don't have an injury feature that I know of.
So where you could add like which part of your body is coming back. Look, Garmin people, if you're listening, get on it. I'll give you 5% of it's my idea. You guys, I'll take the 95%. Pick it up. Just email me, Garmin. Yeah. It's oh man. Yeah, recovery from injury, a big injury like yours though, that's pretty, it would be it's demoralizing, but you can only think about the week, the day you're on, the week you're on, or even the very run that you're on. That's all you have to really focus on. It's like that being and the best athletes in the world, they're process focused. They're like, they don't focus on, it's really hard not to focus on the outcome, but if you focus on the outcome too much, you miss out on a lot. But the best athletes will focus on just the process goals, It could be their goal is to run a marathon, then they go, okay, if that's all they think about, they're going to be disappointed if that doesn't come out. But, it might just be to be able to run a 5K in 25 minutes or something and go from there.
At the moment, I just put it down as, all right, we'll get out the door. I'll walk down to the grassed area, and then I just start running, and I go, right, I'm going to run from this tree to that tree. If that feels okay, I'm going to run from the next tree to the next tree. If that feels okay, I'm going to run from the next tree to the next tree. Oh, it doesn't feel quite right, I'm going to walk to the next tree. Now I'm going to run again, and then when I go, oh, I reckon I could go a bit more, but I've already done enough today, it's time to walk home. And that's it. And then I just try to run a bit further. So, and very slowly build that up, but making sure that every second or third week, probably every second initially, that I drop that week right back down.
Yeah, that's good. You need those recovery weeks. Yeah. I was just going to go back to you, Isabel, if you're still there. I wanted to ask about, I don't know, whether you may not want to talk about it too much, but I did think there was some interesting points. The race that stupid run you did, the bloody Great Southern, is it Great Southern? No,
DU 135.
Yeah, DU 135.
Yeah, what about it? Oh, just what it was like.
As a race.
Yeah, go on, give us the rundown.
You don't have to.
So it was it was only really not that long after I got back from Canada. So to be honest, I hadn't really done a proper training block. But, I knew that going in. But then I just came up against some issues. My foot was really hurting from the trail, like it was really rocky. And then my femoral nerve started playing up, which caused my quad to really hurt. And my knee went, everything that could hurt was hurting. I swear to God, it was like my body was saying, we don't want you to do this. And every time I'd ignore one pain, it would make something else hurt in my body. So it was just horrible, quite frankly. And so I pulled out at 75K, and I was actually crying, which for me is very unusual. I'm not much of a crier. So I just wasn't feeling right within myself. Like I couldn't particularly pinpoint it, but I wasn't feeling right. So I just called it a day because I wasn't going to be going any better after that.
Yeah. It's that's big for you, like to feel that way, It must have been because and understandably, like how long were you out there? Like that would have been a long, because there's nothing easy about that race. Nothing easy. It's like, so how many hours did you say you're out there for? I think I've lost her.
I think we've lost Isabel, but it'd be a few for 75K.
Yeah, but yeah.
I'm back.
Yes.
You're back? How many hours were you out for? That 75K,
20
how long
hours.
did that take?
20 hours, and I only did 75K.
It's
that's a long time out.
How frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's a frustrating race, isn't it?
Very, very, yeah. It's a slow course. It's not a speed course. Let's put it that way.
No, it's a highly technical one.
Sorry?
It's highly technical.
Yeah, very, very technical. Which is fine normally, but even then, even if I was feeling good, it's not a running course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
more of an adventure course rather than a running course.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that we should categorize trail runs into that. This is an adventure trail run. This is a trail run, as in you can actually run the trail. Because I've noticed that as we progress down to getting more and more races, they are becoming less and less runnable and more adventurous.
Yes. Because they all want to be known as the toughest race. And the only way they see of making it the toughest is making it the most difficult to run.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I find amusing considering that certainly in Australia, due to our laws that make the race director responsible for anything that goes wrong, the second we have anything go wrong with the course, the race gets cancelled.
Yeah, true. Good point. Yeah, and I think you can make it tough without making it impossible to run. Like you're going to hike at hills, but I don't know. I just think it's almost going too far in the this is the toughest race mentality.
I agree so much.
Yeah.
Fun is better. It's okay to have fun and still you can test yourself. Look, a flat race can be very testing,
Yeah,
yeah. I think
a
flat race is more testing because you use exactly the same muscles, exactly the same way for a long time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that hurts.
Because I get to walk.
Yeah. It's really I'm a bit in your camp, Isabel. I think that I just want to pick races that first of all, I've got a few categories. I love a loop race, a single loop. I think I talked about it last time. I don't like lots of out and back sections in races where I cover the same ground more than once, especially if, I want to see new things around every corner. Call me, it's my little, and then, or point to point's pretty good as well. And it's just, there's got to be a certain degree opportunity, I think, to really run.
Yes.
And
I think, I know part of ultra running is suffering, but I don't think the goal of every race should be to suffer as much as possible. For me, the goal is to prepare myself well enough to reduce the amount of suffering.
Yeah.
Like it's I don't know, it's kind of saying now that it's the hardest possible races because it's a badge of honor to suffer for as long as humanly possible. Whereas if you have strategized your race correctly and trained correctly, you should be suffering for as little as possible. Would you agree?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder whether that's what ultra running training is about. Is it just about reducing suffering?
It's training yourself for suffering tolerance.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that every race for the entirety should be a suffer fest. If you've trained correctly, then it actually shouldn't be that much suffering.
Yeah.
I have to say, the race I just did, the Run Adelaide 100, which that was that kind of race. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I've never enjoyed a race from start to finish where I wasn't just mucking around. Like I ran reasonably well, and I was happy with the performance, but low points. I enjoy, even though it's Adelaide and I know it pretty well, there were still lots of new trails that I got to run on that I'd never run on before. And, you know, it's sort of like, because it was interesting because it was like 3 races in one. It was like 30 kilometers of flat along the river. And then the next 70 odd kilometers were through the hills and up and down, like running through the back, like scrub and shrubs and like really thick bush, then beautiful single track, and then some road hills. It just had so much variety in it.
That's a lot. Yeah, I was going to say that's variety going out the max. Yeah.
It's the best. It was a multi-terrain race, which to be honest, probably had more bitumen than I expected overall. But I think my training worked all right because I was still, with 10Ks to go, I could still run at 5:30s, you know, so I was pretty happy with that. Yeah. So
that's what I mean. You enjoyed that race, and this is our hobby. Isn't it kind of meant to be enjoyable?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Work is the thing that sucks, not our hobby. Yeah. No, it's okay to have fun.
Yeah, it's okay to have fun. It's okay. Yeah, I want that to become a little bit more acceptable, that we don't have to go out to suffer. And to be honest, I have tended to choose suffering races. That's why the next few months, Ron and I are doing races just for fun, because I want to get that fun back so that not every race is like kind of a sufferfest. I want to have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I certainly know a bunch of friends that I used to race with years ago who are still avid runners that don't race anymore. And they do post on their respective socials that they are going out and running long distances on the weekend like they're doing a race, but they're picking stuff that's just for fun. And they've gone, you know, racing didn't have the fun factor anymore. So they've gone back to the basics of what is running, and that is, it should be enjoyable. I enjoy training probably more than I enjoy racing.
Yeah.
So the bit that I enjoy about racing is the social aspect and getting to chat to people during the run and stuff like that, and the before and after. But I still actually just getting out and enjoying the run and the feeling of my body moving freely and getting to see new things, that is running for me. Like that's why I love it.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is called intrinsic motivation right there. And all the teachers in the audience go, yes.
Yeah.
That's what you want, though. That's the goal. It doesn't come about easily, you know? Yeah. It's an opportunity to celebrate being alive, you know? I did
exactly.
Yeah.
I did and especially after the shit couple of years we've had.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, just being able to race, you know, and I don't know about you, but I think we should revel in the fact that we can race again and be with our friends again and all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, Ashley, I've got a question. Have you got a bit of a time horizon on when you think you might enter a race? Speaking of races, because I do know how much you enjoy it as well, to be involved in the community.
So I have entered a race in October. I've entered Blackwall. But I've entered the 50. Yeah. So that's the plan. Even if I walk it, that's, you know, I have a long, I could just literally today go out and walk it. I'm sure I could make my body walk that distance.
That is exciting.
Whether I would like to walk that distance, well, actually, it's a beautiful course. That's why I picked it. It is a course that even if I had to walk, it's worth the walk. The one that's even nicer than that, as far as, you know, if you had to walk the course, for me, is Washpools. Washpools is just a stunning course. Like literally every turn you take, it is just this stunning vista or this close-up view when you're stuck in the forest of just amazing stuff. And the next minute you're next to a creek with running water and you can see blue crayfish. It's just, it's one of those races that, those two races are just absolute stunners. There's other races that I like for other reasons, but those ones, the view, you know, like if you've got to slow down, they're worth slowing down because what you get to see is mind-blowing.
Jeez. I like wash pools. Where is it? Is it on the Sunshine Coast or on the?
No, wash pools is in New South Wales. About an hour's drive, maybe only 40 minutes drive out of Glen Innes.
Oh, there you go. I have to look it up.
So it's a 50K course. It's a loop course, so it's exactly what you like. And the scenery is mind-blowingly good. Like I have gone back to that national park like 6 or 7 times just to visit because it is that stunning.
What was the race called again?
Wash pools.
Never heard of it.
I'm going to look it up. But everyone, it's good that you've got a race that's special to you. Do you have a race that's special to you, Isabel? Like that you've done and you just love it for the area?
Well, probably my favourite race that I've ever done would have to be the Jungfrau Marathon in Switzerland. So, yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
Well, that would be pretty stunning too, I would imagine.
Oh my God. And just the right distance. Like it was, a marathon. I mean, it's all uphill except for the first 10K, but it's the right distance where you aren't so shattered afterwards you can't enjoy it. And it was just awesome.
That sounds great.
Excellent.
I wanted to also ask you, Isabel, because in a couple of weeks you're going to make a journey over the border to South Australia.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe we should do the next pod. We do a quick one while we just before we head out for dinner, maybe. Yeah,
it's a shame. You want to jump in on that dinner, Ashley? We'll book a table for you.
That sounds great.
But it would be awesome. But yeah, so
I'll just go down to something and order some hot chips and eat them at the same time that you guys are eating something a la carte.
That's a great idea. I was going to say, Isabel, because you're coming over to do the Ultra Adelaide, which is the first year that this race is run.
Yes.
Are you doing the 50 or the 100, did you say?
Oh, the 50, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think will be 53, but yeah, the 50.
You'll actually get all the best views in the last 50 of the race. So
ultra running races are just like wristband heart rate monitors. Their distance isn't very accurate.
Yes, that's right.
It's give or take 5.
It is what it is.
Yeah, give or take 5, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, we had to change the course today. We just whacked on an extra 20 Ks. You guys will be right.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it when they
bonus for free.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love it the most when race directors go, we have to cut the course a little bit short, but you get an extra climb,
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, maybe I'd rather run at the end, and it's always at the tail end of the race. It feels like.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that Pitchy Ritchie race I was telling you about, it's got nearly 500 meters of climbing in the marathon. So like for a road marathon, that's a fair bit.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. But that's why I couldn't be bothered doing the road. The half marathon's got about half. Yeah. And so, but yeah, we're doing that for fun as well, essentially. And then the next thing, the remainder of the year, as we're counting down, I've got building up towards the Wild in New Zealand and
nice.
And 100 mile. And so my main objective with that last 100 was to not get injured and to run reasonably well. And I did that. And so now I'm moving into the next, basically, I'm going to start my build up in July-ish to really start the build. And I think, Isabel, you might have to start building as well.
Yes. And like I plan on using all these races as, long training runs.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think have you mentioned it in the podcast that you're going to be coming to New Zealand?
I don't know. So yes, we are going to New Zealand as well. For the Wild, I got in.
Crack up.
Nice work. Well done.
Yeah.
Because you had to go on a waiting list as well, didn't you? Yeah.
For a whole week.
For a whole week.
And did Malcolm?
You had no nails left by the end of the week, did you?
Yeah, I think it was just they were still sorting out entries and that sort of stuff. I'm not really sure. So Yeah, they just yeah.
Going to be very good.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is I got in, so that's fine, and we're gonna go over there and then have a bit of a holiday afterwards.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So we're actually going to be leaving the kids in Adelaide.
Oh,
And
nice.
it'll just be my wife and I, because my wife Kate is going to do the 20 mile.
Oh, awesome.
So is Ron running it? Any of it? You don't need is Ron going to do any of the?
Oh no, he's going to be crewing. He's crewing.
Yeah, he's crewing now.
You could do a
designated driver, designated crewer.
There's only one hill in the 20 mile. It just goes for a really long time.
It's just called Mount Cook.
No, yeah. No, so it's going to be good times. So basically, just that's what we're all doing. Isabel, we're going to be doing a countdown to Ashley's return to racing, and we can do a countdown to our build up for the
I was about to say countdown in New Zealand.
Yeah, yes. And also we can talk about preparing for mountain marathons and mountain ultras, like which I know we've talked about a lot, but we can really put our training into perspective. Yeah. And look at maybe the different approaches we're going to take, because we're doing the same race.
And it will be interesting to see the different approaches. And it'll be good for people to see that obviously there isn't just one approach, because we're all so different. We all need slightly different approaches.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's really cool. And I'm
all right, well, I reckon that sounds like a spot to put a pin in it.
Yes. Worked well.
And so we might...
I did want to ask Daniel though, what was Daniel's favourite race, because we missed that.
Oh, my favourite race that I've ever done, is actually that race I did in New Zealand 2 years ago, which was the Ultra Easy, which is no longer a race, and it's around Lake Wanaka area, and it's similar to where we're going for the Wild, same kind of country. That's my favourite race, favourite location, just because it's the first time I've been in a race where I actually wanted to just stop and take photos, and was reluctant to leave certain points of the course. I was like, I want to stay right here for like half an hour, but I have to keep going. I'm in a race, the view is just phenomenal. And it's just like, So that one, and that was one of those ones where I just, again, around every bend, it was just like, wow, this is awesome. I didn't feel like I was in a race. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway,
that's cool.
Running, have fun out there this weekend, Isabel.
Yes, have fun. Have an awesome time.
Yeah.
And all right, so I reckon we look at doing one again that weekend when we're in Adelaide, and we can sort of do a group podcast with Ashley calling in.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great weekend all. Enjoy the cool weather. It's beautiful for running long distances.
Yeah.
Just take your down jacket with you.
Stop the cord.
That's it.